Hello and welcome to the much anticipated How to Pass the PE exam for the very first time, or How to Pass if you have failed before, presented to you by www.electricalpereview.com, the ultimate online resource. So let's begin. Essentially, we're going to look at three separate stages that happen from the moment you decide to take the exam and register up until taking the exam at the exam day. So the three stages are: first, plan. This is getting all of your material ready, getting everything kind of set aside, talking to all the people in your life, letting them know what a big challenge you're taking on. It's all about kind of keeping yourself motivated and committing to a plan on paper. That way, anytime you start to waver, you can reflect back on that plan and get yourself back on track. So we typically set aside about 1 week for that after you receive your confirmation that you've been accepted to take the exam. Our next stage is study. Of course, this is going to be the biggest stage of all. It's pretty much blocking out time in your calendar, taking advantage of your weekends, taking advantage of any time after hours in the evenings, and even getting up early to study beforehand if you need to. And typically that's going to be about 3 to 5 months. So, of course, the more time you have to study, the better. But if you're in a bind, you can always make time work for you. And lastly, execute. And of course, this is one day. This is showing up to the exam, sitting in your assigned seat, and rock and rolling and taking the exam. So our first stage, planning. Like we said, we typically commit 1 week to that. It's composed of confirming the exam date, your exam location. Are you going to stay at a hotel? What your travel arrangements are going to be? If you need any kind of time off work. It involves gathering all prep materials, whether it be calculators, additional reference materials, practice exams, course material like www.electricalpereview.com. And it also is committing to a dedicated study schedule. And we're going to expand on that much more. So afterwards, the next stage, of course, studying. Our duration is about 3 to 5 months. And we talk about a time-based study strategy, blocking out days on our calendar, and which topics to study for in what order, right? We don't want to just be wasting time. We don't want to be reading topics that may or may not show up on the exam. We really want to focus on the most time-efficient way to prepare, because that's the most important part. There's so much material on this exam. We really want to make sure we're spending our time where it matters most and spending the least amount of time where we're going to get the less results. And additionally, practice problems. So what kind of problems do we want to study? What order? How do we decide, which topics to focus on in the beginning, in the middle, and the end? When do we take the full-length practice exams, and etc.? So when we expand more on stage 2, we'll go quite into depth in all of those. Last but not least, stage 3, execute. Of course, it's a 1-day exam day. We're going to talk about what to bring to the exam room, what to expect, so there's no surprises. And we're going to spend a lot of time here talking about specific test-taking strategies for the PE exam. Some people are naturally very gifted when it comes to taking tests, and they kind of intuitively know what to do and what to focus on. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, some people are just terrible. Some people just have no strategy, and they go in there figuring, I'm going to give it my best shot, and however I do, I do. So we want to eliminate that. We're really going to talk about in-depth how to maximize our time in that exam room, and really the things that we're going to focus on that's going to essentially ensure that we're going to get the highest score possible. So specific test-taking strategies for the exam, that's going to be the most important topic we touch on in stage 3. So let's jump in. Stage 1, planning. First thing you want to do in our course, you want to download and print the stage 1 planning checklist, which you can kind of see to the right. It's going to take you step by step on all the steps you need to do in order to have an effective planning stage. And it's also going to have kind of a promise and commitment to yourself that you're going to sign, really committing to do what it takes to pass the exam, right? No half tries here. We're not going to kind of start, kind of finish, kind of maybe study this Saturday, but maybe not. No, that's bull. We want to eliminate that as much as possible. We're going to commit to a really hard schedule. We're going to commit to pretty much an all or nothing mentality, because we want to set aside this time to practice and prepare, and we want to pass, and we want to get it behind us. So that's the most important thing. Next, make sure you've submitted all of your documents for registration. If you're unsure what is required, check both the ncees.org website and, of course, your state local licensing page. If you have any kind of uncertainty at all, do not hesitate to call your state board's office immediately. These people are friendly. They're used to people calling and not being sure. We know the requirements can be lengthy and at times confusing or unclear. So if you have any doubt whatsoever, pick up the phone and call. Don't be shy. You can find their number on your individual state's licensing board. So next, you've received your confirmation in the mail or email. What do you do? Well, first of all, write down the address and start time of the exam. This is very important information. You don't want to lose it. You want to keep it somewhere in a safe place. You want to keep a physical folder where you can reference all of this stuff. You don't want to be halfway through the exam preparation time, or you don't want to be closing in on that time and panic and say, oh crap, where did I keep that important information? Where is this exam? What time? What's the actual address? So we want to eliminate that from happening. So keep it in a safe place. Next, in advance, right? Do not wait. Whatever you do not wait up to the exam date. Request any time you think is necessary to travel to and take the exam. Speak to your boss as soon as possible and your colleagues. What you want to avoid is the exam date rolls around next weekend and you think, oh man, I forgot. Let me talk to my boss. Sure, there's no problem getting that vacation day to travel. Next thing you know, there's a really important deadline or project at work and you can't get that time off. So make sure you get that request in advance. You want to eliminate any possibility for whatever reason for your work schedule of not letting you have that time off. Okay, very important. You're going to want to decide if you're going to commute, which is waking up in the morning, driving to the exam, and then taking it. Of course, we do not recommend this. Decide if you're going to book a hotel. This is highly recommended because we want to eliminate any distractions, any unnecessary work or headaches that we can avoid if at all possible. What happens if you wake up, you do everything right, you get up extra early to go travel, say the hour, 2 hours to that exam location, and there's an accident on the road, right? They're not going to care about that. You will not be able to take it if you're late. So we highly recommend, you're going to be spending a small investment on your prep material and, of course, on registering and applying for the exam. We strongly recommend that you go ahead and you pay the extra $100, $150, even $200 if need be, and go ahead and get yourself a one-night stay at the same hotel, if not right across the street or nearby from where the exam is actually taking place. Why is this so important? Why is this recommended? Well, when it comes time to take the exam, all you have to do is wake up, walk down the lobby, and roll right into the exam itself. And you have way less things to go wrong, much less things to worry about. So you're removing barriers that are outside of your control, which could prevent you or cause you some trouble, like an accident on the road, extra traffic, car trouble, flat tire, bad battery, you name it. The possibilities are endless. So highly recommend getting a hotel. Next, obtain 2 exam-approved calculators. Yes, 2. Why is that important? Because we've heard horror stories of students going in to take the exam with brand new batteries in their calculator, and for whatever reason, a calculator malfunction or it dies. It does happen. So just like booking a hotel, we want to really safeguard ourselves from any last-minute surprises that we have the ability to control. So most of the calculators are pretty cheap. If you've already invested in one of the more expensive ones, ask a buddy to borrow his basic scientific calculator. So you want to prevent yourself from being halfway through the exam. Maybe you spill a liquid, or maybe, hey, your calculator just decides it's had enough and it quits. Then what are you going to do? You're going to have a much tougher time on that exam passing it in the allotted time limit if you're doing everything by hand. So yes, definitely make sure to obtain 2 exam-approved calculators. And of course, if you're not sure which calculators are approved or not, you can look it up on the official exam website. Next, this is the most key an important part of the stage 1 planning phase. We need some type of physical and visual representation of how much time we have to prepare. So what we're going to want to do is use a wall-hung calendar, just a standard flip calendar, purchase a planner if you don't already have one, or print out a calendar using just standard templates you can get on the internet. This is so important because with this calendar, the first thing you want to do is from this date all the way to the exam date, you're going to want to mark down the date of that exam. You're going to cross out every weekend from now until the exam date. Yes, because your weekends are your most precious times to study. And next, you're going to count and write down how many total weeks you have between now and the exam to prepare. And this is a really important step, guys. Do not just listen to this and say, I'll do it later. Really take the time to get that physical and visual of how much time you have to prepare. When you first register and you set aside the 3 to 5 months to study, you're going to think, oh man, I've got all the time in the world. No problem. I'm going to over prepare. I'm going to be so ready for this exam. But you know what? Real life gets in the way. We have birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries, emergencies, household emergencies. We have family life, we have social life. Things happen, and if we aren't consciously aware of exactly how much time we have, then you know what? Time slips by way faster than we can ever expect. So I highly, highly, highly suggest get something visual that you can look at and reference at. It really makes a difference here. And next, once you count down those weeks, that's the same number of weekends. And like I said, those are your most precious times and resources are your Saturday and Sundays. Now, it's time to be very upfront with the people in your life. You're about to take an extreme short-term sacrifice that, frankly, is going to cause a lot of strain in your social and family relationships. And it's important that they know exactly what's going on. And it's important that they know it's just going to be temporary. We want to make sure they know what to expect. So first, you want to speak to your family, friends second, and then your boss and colleagues third. It's important to express your deliberate intent to pass the exam on the very first try, or express the intent that, hey, this is going to be the final time I'm going to take this because you know what, guys, I'm going to pass it this time. So be upfront with the people in your life. Explain the importance of respecting your uninterrupted study time. This needs to be a rule, no exceptions. And of course, you're going to need to remind them from time to time when they violate it. And, be gentle, but be firm. Let them know how important this time is to you. Let them know, hey, this is an all or nothing approach. I really need this time to focus. I appreciate you coming to me, but right now, I need you to really respect my time, really respect the amount of hard work I'm trying to get to, because every interruption is going to be a distraction. Every interruption is going to affect my chances of passing this incredibly difficult exam. So really explain the importance of it. Next, explain that you're making an extremely difficult short-term sacrifice, but it does come with a long-term investment. This is temporary. You're not going to have to focus this hard forever, right? We're going to focus in the short term. We're going to study once we have all of our materials and our study schedule set up, and we're going to study. We're going to work harder than, frankly, some of you have ever worked before. But you know what? It's so going to be worth it. And explain why. Talk to your boss. Ask, if possible, for less workload so you can study more in the evenings. Some of us have careers that, unfortunately, we do have to work weekends here or there. Explain to him how important those are going to be to you. Explain, hey, this isn't just an investment for me, but it's an investment for you too. I'm going to be able to take on increased responsibility with a license. This means more money for our firm. This means being able to spread the responsibilities at the office a lot more evenly. That one project manager that's been extremely stressed out. Well, hey, now with a license, once I get through this, I'll be able to help him out and help out our team. So if at all possible, please, there's going to be times when I'm going to need less of a workload. And again, sir, this is just a short time sacrifice, but it's going to be a sacrifice for the both of us. So I really appreciate you being understanding and helping me here. Next, for your wife or husband, and this is where it gets really difficult, because essentially this is a business transaction. So your boss is going to be extremely understanding. They have most likely gone through it before, and if you work in an engineering firm that requires licensed engineers, this is something that they're used to. But for your wife or your husband, this is going to be really difficult. Chances are they're not an engineer. Chances are they haven't had to study for any kind of licensing exam. Hopefully they have successful careers and they can relate, or hopefully they're loving and supportive enough that they understand how big of a sacrifice this is, and they're going to be with you every step of the way to make sure you're successful. So for your wife or husband, you're going to express the need for less household and family duties. Again, this is just in the short term to allow for uninterrupted study time. If this means having your wife or husband taking the kids to and from school every day for those 3 months, so be it. If this means they're making dinner, they're doing the chores, really you want to squeeze every possible hour, because every single additional hour of uninterrupted study time you have could make or break that difference in passing or failing. So extremely important. And like I said, hopefully you do have a very loving and supportive significant other, and hopefully while it may strain in the short term, they're going to be right there with you, rooting in your corner for you to succeed. And also, the best way to handle these short-term strained relationships is, you want to make it up to them. Tell your boss, hey, I really appreciate you being understanding and allowing me to take slightly less responsibility. And you know what? As soon as I get that license, I'd really like to take the lead on that next project requiring a PE after I pass. I really like to kind of take the bull by the horns and really show you how important this is to me and to you, and to show you that I really appreciate you working with me on this. Next, for your wife or husband, this is key. I cannot stress enough how much this is going to strain your relationship with your spouse and your family if you have one at home, because you are going to be dedicated every single waking hour that you're not sleeping, eating, or working to putting in the hours to study for this exam. So here's how you're going to show your loved one that you really care about them and that it's not just about you. Sit down with them, plan, and actually book a family or romantic getaway for an entire weekend. Even maybe take a couple days off, maybe 4 or 5 day retreat. And this is supposed to be a reward for both of you, a reward for you for all of your hard work, and of course a reward for your significant other for putting up with this very difficult time and being supportive. Not only that, but it gives both of you something extremely positive and fulfilling to look forward to. Those really difficult moments when you're burning the midnight oil, when your spouse is very stressed because they're taking on all of your family duties, and you're just, you're exhausted, you're fatigued, your hand hurts from writing out so many problems. You can think about, hey, we just booked that amazing trip to the beach. Plan a babysitter if you want it just to be you and your spouse, or plan on taking the kids with you. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it's so important to have a light at the end of the tunnel that you both can look forward to, because in those really difficult moments, it's going to be one of those light bulb moments of, okay, this is temporary. It's going to help you both take a short break. It's going to help you both take a breath of fresh air. And as soon as it's over, as soon as it's behind you guys, you have something great and positive to look forward to, and you can kind of have that intimate R&R time, which is so important. So last, ask for their utmost support and respect. Ask them to be hard on you. If your discipline starts to thin, or if you start to noticeably complain, for all you complainers out there, ask them to remind you why you're putting in the short-term sacrifice. If you start to doubt, if you start to get kind of mopey, ask them really to talk about, hey, honey, or if it's your colleagues or boss, hey, do you remember why we're doing this? You remember how important it is? So really ask for the support to the people that are important to you in your life, because, we really take that at heart. And this is going to be an incredibly difficult undertaking to get by. And the final and most important thing is committing and making a promise to yourself. Ultimately, you are alone in this endeavor. You are alone in preparing and studying by yourself. And when it comes exam day, ain't no one going to be taking that exam but you. So it's really important on the stage 1 planning checklist. We included a spot there, or in your own journal. You really want to take time to write down why you want to become a professionally licensed engineer and what it means to you. Again, this is not just a mental exercise. Take the time to do this. The students that commit to themselves on paper compared to the ones that don't, it really makes a big difference. When you write down, you are tapping into your subconscious, and you are really, really deep diving into why this is important to you. Those moments when you are lacking motivation, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So really, really take the time out to do this in a quiet place where you can be honest with yourself and really commit to yourself and write down on paper why you want to become a professionally licensed engineer, because you know what? It is not an easy task. Next, write down what do you plan to do when you experience temporary dips in motivation and faith. And guys, we all have this. It's not something everyone talks about, but everyone experiences, and it's perfectly normal. The important thing is recognizing it when it happens, recognizing it for what it is, and then going to your safety net, falling back on what you're going to do. Is it taking a half-day break, going to the beach with your family? Is it reading just a really relaxing book? Is it watching your favorite show on TV? Is it going for a walk? Is it something that's just going to give you that really short break, just enough break that you need, without any extra, because you want to save that time to study, with the intention of, for whatever reason, I'm exhausted. Work deadlines are just hounding me. My wife is stressed out, or my husband is stressed out because the kids are going crazy and I can't be there to help him or her. And I've just got so little mental power right now to stay motivated. I know what this is. I know this isn't permanent, but I know I need to self-correct immediately, or I could go into a negative downward spiral. So important is to recognize it for what it is. Yes, we all have them, and then fall back on your safety net to get you through it. So the most successful people in the world, they know exactly what it is. They recognize it the instant it happens, and the quicker you are at recognizing it, the quicker you will be at catching it before it goes into a deeper and deeper spiral. So it's very dangerous. Make sure you are on the lookout for it. Make sure you have a backup plan. Next, we're almost through the stage 1 planning checklist. Download it from our website. Complete any remaining steps. It's there and organized in a manner and fashion to help you. It's to make sure you don't miss anything. And then you know what? After that, stage 1, we are finished. So congratulations. Stage 1 is now complete at the end of that. And if you're ready to move on, it's time to roll up your sleeves and get to work. So let the tough, but extremely rewarding journey begin. And I will see you on the next video on to stage 2.